Have you ever wondered if there's a little person inside your head talking to you? And if such a little person really existed, who would be the one watching this tiny being? Could it be that inside the little person's head, there's an even smaller person? You might say, well, the little person wouldn't have a brain, but then how do the images in this video turn into the little person's experience? Is it possible that inside every one of our brains lives an invisible ghost? Our great philosopher René Descartes thought something very similar. He believed that our soul is like a spectator sitting inside the brain, like a pilot inside a Gundam robot, watching the world through a sensory projection screen, and then guiding our actions through the pineal gland. 600 years ago, before science and public understanding flourished, this mind-body dualism was widely accepted. It spread alongside the famous phrase, "I think, therefore I am," and it remains influential even today. The idea of a little person inside the brain, capable of doubting and thinking, forms the core of how we imagine the self. But here's the question. If our brain really had a screen to display everything we experience, that screen would need a neural switch, stimulated, and a complete, colorful, and vivid image should appear. Sure, we learned in middle school that light enters the eye and forms an inverted image on the brain surface. But textbooks are a bit outdated. The visual information we receive isn't gathered in a single screen-like center. Instead, it's broken down into pieces, shapes, colors, and more, and scattered across the visual cortex at the back of the brain. From there, the information flows along two pathways, the dorsal stream and the ventral stream. The dorsal pathway answers the question, where is this thing? While the ventral pathway answers, what is this thing? In other words, after receiving information from the outside world, the brain only codes it between neurons without any central point to unify these fragments back into a complete image. This means there is simply no unified screen in the brain. Don't believe me? Think about the phenomenon of blind sight, which we covered earlier. People with cortical blindness can't consciously see anything, yet they can correctly guess the location of objects and avoid obstacles. If there really was a little person watching a screen inside their head, how could they react correctly without any picture to watch? You see, visual information doesn't require a full scene projected onto a shared screen for the little person to watch. Local processing mechanisms in the brain do their jobs perfectly fine, helping us navigate daily life. You might still ask, even without a screen, don't we need a little person or some unified soul to direct our actions? Hold on. If you split the corpus callosum, the thick band connecting the left and right brain hemispheres, you essentially divide the brain in two. Neuroscientist Michael Gazzaniga conducted experiments on such split brain patients. For instance, he showed a snowy scene to their left eye and a chicken claw to their right eye, then asked them to pick cards related to each image with their left and right hands. Guess what? The left hand chose a snow shovel, and the right hand picked a chicken. When asked why, the split brain patient explained, "It's simple, chickens and chicken claws naturally belong together." But then he added, "If you want to clean the chicken coop, you need a shovel too." This means the two halves of the brain couldn't communicate. The left brain, responsible for language, didn't know the right brain saw snow. When it felt something was odd, it just made up a story to explain why the right hand picked a shovel. Here's something even more fascinating. When Gazzaniga showed a murder scene to the left eye, the split brain patient expressed fear but couldn't explain why. When asked, he said, "I don't know. Maybe it's because the room feels oppressive." So, if there really was a little person in the brain who sees everything, they would know what both eyes see. But split brain patients seem clueless. Instead, it looks like there are two theaters, each with its own little person working independently in each hemisphere. The left brain's little person controls language and acts like a scriptwriter, crafting a unified story for the whole play. Got it? Our brain doesn't have a single soul watching a screen. It has multiple parallel systems. It's just that the left and right brain usually communicate so well, we feel like we have one unified self. Okay, you say, Even if there's no screen and there are multiple little people, there must be a single unified consciousness giving orders, right? Otherwise, how do you explain our consistent actions? Remember the Libet experiment we talked about? Libet asked participants to raise a finger whenever they felt like it, while measuring their brain's readiness potential, the neural signals that prepare movement. He found that the brain's motor preparation signal appeared 0.3 to 0.5 seconds before the participant felt the conscious intention to move. In other words, the brain starts the action program before "I feel like moving" even arises. No commander orders the raise finger command beforehand. Instead, different neural circuits coordinate ahead of time. Then consciousness receives a delayed notification. Self-awareness is like a little person in the audience, watching a scene that's already in progress and saying, "Oh, I raised my hand." The brain is more like an autopilot, and the little person just buys a ticket after the fact. So by this logic, Descartes was wrong. But why do we still feel conscious? Let me introduce philosopher Daniel Dennett, who combined these findings into the multiple drafts model. He suggests that instead of a single screen, multiple scriptwriters work in parallel across brain regions. Like bloggers on social media, various neural modules independently draft narratives from visual, auditory, and sensory input. These drafts interact, edit, overlap, and compete. Some gain traction, spreading through language centers or working memory to form the brain's hot list. These are the bits we notice and remember, what we call consciousness. In this model, the little person retires. There's no central theater, no single script, no audience, and no fixed moment. Consciousness begins. Every brain region is both actor and audience, with information spreading and competing in a decentralized flow. Still skeptical? Consider the global workspace theory, now the leading neuroscience model of consciousness. It doesn't demolish the theater metaphor, but renovates it. The brain is a theater, but only content under the spotlight of attention gets broadcast across networks, becoming conscious, remembered, or acted upon. Offstage, unconscious processes stay ready. When something urgent, like a loud noise, occurs, it competes for the spotlight and becomes the new conscious focus. Like the multiple drafts model, the little person is gone. The spotlight is guided by an attention system, an internal regulator of brain priorities. You might ask, then why across cultures and history do people still feel there's a me inside? Because the self isn't a thing in the brain, it's a narrative center, like a center of mass in physics. It's useful, but not physically real. The I we feel is a fiction from tangled brain storylines, organizing experience into something usable. Like a video game character with stats and logs, the self offers unified control. The avatar isn't stored in one chip, it's distributed. So is our sense of self, a coherent story woven from memory and language. We feel like a me is in charge, but that's just the interface. Letting go of the little person shows us that consciousness and the self need no soul or hidden controller. They emerge from vast, decentralized networks, complex, dynamic, and endlessly evolving. If someone lives only for themselves, they might become a brilliant scholar, a great thinker, or a renowned poet, but they'll never be truly complete or truly great.